Hello, my name is Will Hanke with Red Canoe Media. All right, I'm done.
You sound a little funny.
So just wanted to share a couple apps with everybody. And does anybody recognize these couple logos up here? Most likely everyone in this room walked in with one device at least that has one of these on it or is part of their system. I walked in with both actually. But between these two, Android and Apple, there's over 4 million apps available online. So the tough part, obviously, is how do you start to sift through these and figure out which ones are good, which ones will help you with your business. Now, from time to time, there's apps that don't work well. And this is a good example of a great cutting board app that's probably not the best thing for your iPad, right? So you don't want those apps, but I wanted to get Stephen and Brian up here today to share some apps with you that they find helpful for their business. So we'll start off with Stephen. There you go. Thank you. Oh, you want that?
So the first app that I'm going to talk about, and again, these are a little bit related to what I do, which is photography and video production, but for those of you who have Androids or iPhones, how many people is that, like 99.9% everybody? There's a really cool app called Filmic Pro, and they just did a new release on it, so it's got a whole ton of new features, but it probably works best on the iPhone, especially the later versions if you get more horsepower and can do more things. But what this app lets you do is put a lot of control over what your phone does during taking video. iPads as well. But if you've ever seen video taken with a phone, a lot of times the exposure changes, the color balance changes, the focus is in and out. This lets you take granular control over those, and you've actually got things you can do with your screen and move points around the screen to control where it's going to take its focus from, where it's going to take the exposure from, what the color balance is. You can change the different styles of codecs from higher resolution ones that take more space to lower quality ones that take less space. You can, they've got components that this one shows, for example, a focus point on the lady's face, and then it shows a exposure point on that door behind her or wherever that is right there. And it has all tons of information and tons of settings. It's a little bit hard to see right here with the way the lighting is. But if you do a fair amount of video, even just your own stuff and video blogs and stuff with an iPhone or even an Android, think about trying this thing out. It's pretty cool. It's not too expensive, and it gives you a lot of, really good control. And it's got some built-in pieces. You can upload stuff to different sites and so on, or just pull it down to your computer and then work on it if you have a video editing program. But it's a really cool program. Anybody have any questions on that one?
We'll do Q&A at the end.
Q&A at the end? Okay. So the filmicpro.com is your website for that if you're interested in checking it out. The other thing I use is a file sending, sharing, collaboration service called Hightail. It used to be called YouSendIt, and then they got bought out, and why they called it Hightail, I don't know. It doesn't make much sense as far as sending goes, but anyway, it's called hightail.com, and what they allow you to do is they've got some new features they've introduced, but what I primarily use it for is sending files, large files to people, or letting them send them to me, kind of like some people use Dropbox. So if you've ever had to try to send a large file through email and it comes back too big, their email won't accept it, or if you got something really big, a graphic program for me, videos, you can basically upload it to the service, put their email in there, multiple people. You can do expirations on it. You can do signatures on it. You can do when they opened it for notifications. And then they just click a link and they can download it to their computer. So it doesn't matter how big it is. And it bypasses that email issue of large files. So you've got tracking things on there. You'll see who you sent stuff to, if they've opened it or downloaded it. You can give people a Dropbox location, a URL, and they can upload to you. Again, not having to use email for that, and it'll notify you via email when somebody sent something to you. They've got a new feature that I really haven't done too much yet. They also have an area called Files where you can save things in there if you want to resend them or use them or collaborate. They've got a new feature called Spaces which I didn't put up here yet, but it allows you to create collaborative spaces, and I really haven't explored that too much yet, but it's got a lot of neat features where you can do comments, you can have people have different permissions based on who you want to access what, so it could be great for teams, especially teams that aren't necessarily the same company and you don't want to have all the network logins that you might have to have security-wise if you're doing SharePoint or something like that. So it's a little bit looser than that, but it's really got some pretty neat features. And I believe they've got small sub-apps that you can load on your phones and stuff. So we'll tie it in that way.
Thank you. Next we have Brian, and from what I understand, he has a kayak for sale too. So.
It's a deal. A lot of you know me and know that I went out on my own as a lawyer about a year ago or so. One of the things about that is I lost a lot of support that I had before. And it reminds me of a time when I went from a full-service, larger corporate firm to a smaller firm with a little bit less support. And it really came to life with me about 2 months after I joined the firm when I noticed my plant was dead. And I couldn't figure out why it hadn't been watered for a couple of months. But anyway, one of the things that I did miss is in the corporate firms, you've got dozens, maybe hundreds of attorneys creating contracts and other documents, and they're all kept in a centralized location in a document management system. And when I joined this firm that I just mentioned, I did a search on their document management system. They're in a total different line of business than what I practice in. And the search came back with no hits on a topic that was very, very common in a corporate business law firm. So I really missed that. And so I'm going to talk about a couple of apps that have to do with contracts. I've blogged as the contracts guy since 2010 or 2011, and contracts are near and dear to my heart. So what the first app is it's called Docracy, and it basically unlocks the document management system of large firms and makes it available to the people. So I really love the name. It's a nice play on democracy and documents. So this is, if you go to docracy.com, this is the home page, and you can't really see it too well. Which one's the pointer here? It's not that one. It's not that one. Hey, there we go. But now I've messed everything up. Fortunately, we're using something I'm familiar with. Okay. Oop. Okay, push that little button there, and then you'll go to a page that allows you to find documents. And so one thing I like about Docracy is that it's basically fueled by contributions from practicing lawyers in law firms. So I've put a couple of my own contracts up there myself, share them with the world. So you'll come to this page here, and there are some collections of documents. Here there's the small business collection, and if you were to click on that, then it would take you to several different small business contracts. So you can always search for something that specific you're looking for, but there are also kind of collections that help you navigate through that. And I mentioned that I had put a couple up myself. This is a real simple contract for if you're selling, I don't know, a kayak or something. You can document it really easily through here. Of course, it's seller friendly, so Will, you probably don't want to sign that one. So that's Docracy. The other one is Shake, and this one is, it has an online version, but it's really designed as an app. And what they're doing, or at least what they started out doing, was really exciting to me because they use document assembly technology, which basically the way it works is you answer a few questions about your contract, and then it pulls the contract provisions together for you. And it started out, what's exciting to me is although it started out very simple with basic contracts that don't have a lot of customization, they also allow their customers to customize their contracts so they're more appropriate for them. So this is, instead of taking a bunch of screenshots from my phone, I took a bunch of screenshots from the website. So this is actually the web version. But so if you go to Shake, looks like shakelaw.com. Then you'll go to this. And then it has several different categories of contracts that you might want to enter into. So unlike Docracy that has form agreements, this one actually puts a contract together for you and allows you to sign it on your phone. So if you click on one of them, you really can't see the questions, but these are questions about who the parties are and basics about the contract. And I went through this for I think the first one on the top left, just a general freelance agreement with an assignment of the work product to the client. So they wanted to know in these questions, the parties' names, what's the subject matter of the freelance work that's going to be done, and that kind of thing. And then at the bottom, if you click Generate Agreement, then it puts your contract together, and then you can, and then again at the bottom, Complete and Send Agreement. Then you can sign it electronically, and then it also has I obviously haven't used it a lot. These are this kind of a dashboard of contracts that you've entered into. So Docracy, Shake, 2 great apps.
Thank you, guys. Do you know if Shake costs any money?
It is free.
It's free. Okay.
I don't know if I don't know if it's a freemium model or not, but definitely the basic version is free.
Okay. Awesome.
And Hightail subscription based. So
Hightail is subscription based. Okay. What questions do we have? Somebody have a question? Anyone? Karen.
Okay, thank you. When it comes to Hightail, do you know when you're talking about that they can download, is there a portion where they cannot download? So you can set it where they cannot download the video?
Well, it would be something where they get an email, and in that email is a link to the file. So they click on that, it goes to the site, and then they've got an option to download it. I'm not quite sure I understand.
Can you set it where they cannot download it?
You can put expiration dates on it or limit it to how many downloads they can do. So you can say, I only want somebody 3 downloads, or unlimited with a 30-day expiration, or those are, yes, you can do those kind of controls.
So on Hightail, 2 questions. One, does the recipient have to subscribe, or can they just download it directly? And then 2, level of security, because I'm thinking about that'd be great to get tax documents back and forth with my clients.
In terms of the person that you're sending it to, no, they just get an email, click a link, and it shows them. They don't have to be a user on it or subscribe to it or anything like that. In terms of security, it's basically you're on HTTPS all the way. So when you hit the site, that's the secure SSL certificate type of communication encrypted on the site. In terms of how they store it, you'd have to look on that. But in terms of the actual communication, it's on an encrypted site.
Two questions. One for Hightail. You had said that users can upload documents to you or files to you as well.
Yes.
Do they have to be a subscriber in order to do that, or you can just send them a link to go in and put a document on there?
All you do is give them a URL, and that's your Dropbox, and it's got a custom name, whatever you want to call it, within their domain name. And then they just go to a form and they put their information in, who they are, what their email is, and so and then they upload.
Okay.
So no, they don't have to subscribe or anything.
And then my second question is for Brian. As far as like shakelaw.com, when you can go out and get these agreements, how solid are those? I mean, I know from my perspective, I'd rather be talking to an attorney directly like you to know that whatever I'm finding is good. What types of things are good and okay to use something like that, and what types of things should we contact an attorney like you directly?
Yeah, they're, the contracts are fairly basic on Shake, although they're a startup, so they're growing. One thing that does excite me about them is that they have a blog, a contracts blog, that's very, very well written. I mean, they've got good legal inside the company, so they could do as advanced agreement as they want. So my hope is they're going to move from the simple to the better. But in general, though, contracts have different purposes, and some of them, you want to be airtight because you know you might be going to court and enforcing them. And other contracts, maybe you just want to make sure that between the parties there's a clear understanding and you don't expect ever to go to court. Depending on where you are on that continuum, definitely lawyer, maybe lawyer on the other end. So it just kind of depends on, you know, your circumstance that you're contracting in. So
That's all the time we have. Thank you, everyone.